From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on OpenLine. My name is Leonardo. I'm the News Channel 5 legal analyst sitting in tonight for Amy Rao, who is on maternity leave. You have joined us on a real special Thursday, the fourth Thursday of every month. We do a special segment called Ask a Lawyer. That's where you, the viewer, get to call in and ask your legal questions to one of our attorneys who comes in from time to time. And if maybe it's summertime, maybe you've been injured in a boating accident, maybe you've had a death of a loved one, maybe you're going through a divorce, or anything that involves a lawyer. But we have a real special guest for you tonight. You may have seen him on TV before. He's been here quite a few times. Tonight's guest is attorney Kevin Kennedy. Good evening, Kevin.
Thank you, Nick, and always good to be with you. I always love every time we get a chance, we love to talk. We talk off screen and we talk on screen too, but it's a fascinating. I love it. You got a great legal mind, absolutely. So there are benefits, a lot of benefits tonight. So we'll love to make your phone calls. We'll try to get as many of them done tonight as we can, and it's always good to do the show with you, Nick.
Well, thanks, and I appreciate you being here. Again, the number is 737+ or 737-7587. The phone lines are open right now, so call. You can ask Kevin any legal questions that you have, and I'm sure that he'll definitely know the answer. So
one of the things that jumps out at me that I probably feel like I ought to share, the warm weather always brings out all kinds, a host of problems, and one of the things that has really banged on me all week long with the different clients comes back, they've heard me say it before, loose lips sink ships. Right. And even if they catch Nick and I tonight and somebody said, well, we want to talk to you about it, you don't really have a problem. You don't have to talk to them. And a smart person's watching this show tonight, getting educated, tell your children, tell your grandchildren, they don't have to talk to them. And you can slow things down and says, well, I'd like to talk to a lawyer. Because if you make statements, those statements will be used against you. So there's different agendas, and it would be wonderful if we could just say, hey, this is what we think the situation is, but I don't really like to waive the rights. I don't really like to talk. I had some police say, you're too slick, Kevin. And I said, well, I didn't say that because I just didn't give the farm to you right away or come in and say I surrender. We're not ready to do that.
Well, and just like the rest of the viewers at home, I think a lot of times you watch TV and you see lawyers out there that are saying, call us, we'll get you more money, personal injury lawyers. What is your take on that? Will you get a better settlement if you retain a lawyer?
There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. What would I do? I've been a lawyer over 31 years, handled lots and lots of personal injury, big ones, and handled quite a few big death cases. And people call and ask me all the time, so how did you build that big firm? Lots and lots of personal injury cases. Here's the two things I would say. If I had to hire somebody, if it happened in my family, we would get a lawyer. 31 years shouting. And what kind of lawyer would I get? I'd get a lawyer I could trust, and then I would get a lawyer who had the resources to pay for the experts. We just did a big case. I had $200,000 in a big case where we had to pay all the experts. That's big money. Most people can't do that. And then we had to go to multiple counties for depositions. If you don't have the manpower, you're going to have a real problem. So that's the things I would look at. That's what my experience shouts. Look at the person. What's their reputation? Do they have the manpower? And do they have the resources that we can advance?
And that's one thing that's always kind of crossed me about when I've seen your ads is that it's so important to pick a lawyer that you feel comfortable with. And you really do stress that. And I think that's important for most of the consumers out there that there's a lot of lawyers, but you need to find the one that you feel like you have a connection with, and sincerely maybe one that'll call you back.
Hello. They always say, everybody hates lawyers, but they love their lawyer. And over the years, I've had to have lawyers for a host of different reasons. I own a real estate company and a farm, and then, several locations on a law firm. So it's lots of business. And so I've always loved my lawyers.
Well, good deal. Well, it looks like we got a couple of phone calls.
Okay.
Again, you can call in. The number is at the bottom of the screen, 737+737 or 7587. And I believe here on line one we've got James. Are you there, James?
Yes.
Good evening.
I was wondering, how would I find out if a store has insurance or not?
Okay. Well,
great question.
We were talking about a slip and fall a little earlier before we even got on the air. One of the first things you can do, if you slip, and fall in a business, I would try to make a report. Talk to the manager. I would try to get a photograph of what you slipped on. Just because you fail does not make that company liable. There's got to be a breach and negligence on their part. And then there's got to be damages. So there's several parts of this formula we've got to meet. And so what I would do is make my first report, tell them what happened, and then they will usually give you an insurance company representative to file a claim. And I'd like to make this point. The vast majority of cases, the vast majority are settled at the claim. And insurance adjusters, they look at it. If you make a good presentation, it's what would a reasonable man do under these circumstances, then they'd like to settle. And so that's what we do, and we do that on a daily basis.
You know, I don't know about you, but since I've been practicing law for a few years here, I've noticed that it's getting more difficult to settle these cases at the claims level. I don't know if the...
It is true, and the real world gets down to if the insurance company says just hold the line, hold the line, even if we owe it, don't pay it. You know, there's probably 40 to 50% of the people that won't even, they'll let the statute run. For whatever reason, they were busy or they couldn't get there at that time, the statute. And so then the insurance company's completely out.
And we have a 1-year statute of limitation.
In Tennessee, personal injuries 1 year.
That's exactly right. All right, let's see. I believe we got Lee on line 2. Good evening, Lee. Are you there?
I am.
Okay. What's your question for Kevin?
I just wondered if you took a plant, say like sage or something like that, and you cross-pollinated it with a plant like, say, marijuana.
Okay.
Came up with a plant called sagejuana.
Yes.
Be prosecuted for owning that plant?
Well, first off, if they caught you with it or caught you selling it, you know, they're going to charge you. One of the things that they have all these little test kits, and the test kits talk about the level of marijuana that would be in there. And so you're playing with fire when you do this. Is it worth getting arrested over? Is it worth paying a bond to get out of jail? Is it worth hiring a lawyer? And again, you know, the lawyer, he's going to have to double check. Just because the TBI says this is marijuana, well, you may have to get your own expert. And if it's really serious, they're trying to put you in jail, I don't know why I would take the risk. So there's risk factors in business every day. I would be real reluctant to dance with that and think that I had a legal loophole. If you got caught in that situation, don't admit anything. I'll say it again, don't admit anything. Call a lawyer and let your lawyer call them and say, what is this all about? He can extract information from the police, and then we've got a better understanding before a lot of statements are made, and you're in a box.
Well, you know, and Lee, there was here recently, you know, there's been a lot of these analog drugs or drugs, you know, that they're not on our schedule.
Yes.
And so we have this analog drug statute that basically says if it walks like a duck and it's got webbed feet and it quacks, then it's illegal as well. And there's been some problems with that. I don't know if you've handled some of those.
We've had some guys down there that was selling parsley, and they were selling it for marijuana. They've had some people down there that were selling all kinds of powdered substance, but it really wasn't cocaine. And of course, ultimately, that's how we find these guys, because they're getting arrested, and then they're advancing their cause.
All right, let's go back to, we got some, okay, we got them lined up here. All right, let's see. James on line 3, are you there? James, you with us?
Yeah.
Go ahead, James.
What's your question for Kevin, James?
Yeah, I'd like to know, is a handwritten will, if you get it notarized like at your bank or something, is it binding in the state of Tennessee?
That's a great question.
Great question, James.
Holographic will in the state of Tennessee is legal. It doesn't have to be notarized. It has to be in the testator's handwriting and signed by the testator. And we've seen several of those. We had a multi-million-dollar estate, and the guy just he revoked his prior wills, said, I'll leave it all to Nick Leonardo, and Nick gets his hands on that. He's going to be going in and publishing that will, and unless there's a will contest, it's going to stand. You
know, I had Judge Kennedy has kidded me before to have one of the smallest holograph wills that was ever written. It was written on a little napkin.
Yes.
And I attached that, submitted that to probate court, and the court admitted that will. And so, like you say, that's something a lot of people don't understand.
One of the things I think I've learned about a lot of wealthy individuals, they get aggravated with who they're going to leave their estate to. And so they change it on a regular basis, and I've seen quite a few that would just say, I'm going to write you out of the will, get mad in a little bit and sit down and handwrite that out.
Happens quite a bit. All right, folks, we're going to have to take a break here, but you can, when we come back, we're going to get back to your phone calls. We've got some holding. If you're there, just hold through the break, and we've got a few lines open, 737+, 737-7587. Call, ask Kevin Kennedy any legal question you would like. We'll be right back after this message.